All right, let's talk about India. Something really big has been happening under the surface. A massive shift in the country's legal landscape. And you know what? It's all designed to send a crystal clear message to global investors. So let's dive right in.
So, if you're a global company, for years you've probably looked at India and thought, wow, the potential is just enormous. But there was always this hesitation, right? This big what if in the back of your mind that could just throw a wrench in everything. And more often than not, that big risk, it all came down to one thing. What happens if you end up in a legal dispute? Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look at the old hurdles, what the problems were. Then, we'll get into the big legal shift India just made. We'll see how they're basically adopting the global playbook, what that means for investors, the payoff. And we'll wrap up by asking if India is setting a whole new standard here. All right, Section 1, the old business hurdle. Let's really get into why investors were so hesitant. I mean, what was the actual problem? Well, it all boils down to one word: predictability. You see, the old system had some real challenges. Imagine you're running a global company. The last thing you want is a local court getting super involved in a business disagreement. It just opened the door to completely unpredictable outcomes, timelines that could stretch on forever, and that just doesn't work in global business. It created this fog of uncertainty, and let me tell you, that's a huge red flag for anyone looking to invest serious money. So, faced with this major hurdle, India knew it had to do something. And they didn't just tweak a few rules here and there. No, this was a fundamental, ground-up change in their entire approach. We're not talking about a patch. This was a complete strategic overhaul.
And you can really see the difference here. It's like a tale of two systems. The old way, high court involvement, who knows how long timelines. The new way, way less court interference and strict, predictable deadlines. The key takeaway here is that massive shift from total ambiguity to real clarity. And this whole new approach rests on three really solid pillars. First, you've got the Supreme Court stepping in with rulings that are very pro-enforcement. What that means is they're basically saying, we're going to make sure arbitration agreements are respected. Second, there's a huge push for what's called institutional arbitration, using established professional organizations to settle disputes. And third, and this is crucial, they've put strict limits on how much local courts can even get involved. It's a really smart, multi-layered strategy.
Now, here's the really clever part. India didn't try to reinvent the wheel here. Nope. They looked around at the world's biggest business hubs and decided to adopt their playbook. It's all about speaking the same international language when it comes to business and law.
And the core of that playbook is something called the UNCITRAL model law. It sounds complicated, but just think of it as the United Nations global gold standard for how to do this stuff right. It's the blueprint for fair and efficient business arbitration. So by copying this model, India is basically shouting to the world, hey, we follow the same rules as everyone else.
And this isn't just some abstract idea. We're talking about real alignment with the top global institutions. You've got the ICC, the International Chamber of Commerce, the LCIA in London, the SIAC in Singapore. I mean, these are the heavyweights, the big leagues of international arbitration. When an investor sees that, they feel a sense of familiarity, they feel trust.
Okay, so we've talked about the laws and the framework. But what does this actually mean for an investor? What's the real payoff? Let's get down to brass tacks.
Benefit number one, speed. It's that simple. These time-bound procedures mean that if there's a problem, it gets solved fast. And in business, what does time equal? Money, right? Nobody wants a legal battle that drags on for years, draining resources. This means less disruption and getting back to business faster. Next up, and this one is absolutely huge, is stronger contract certainty. This is the foundation of, all business, really. It means that when you sign a deal in India now, you can have real confidence that the contract means what it says and that it'll actually be enforced. The terms you agreed on will be upheld, period. And when you add up that speed and that certainty, what do you get? You get the most valuable thing in the business world: predictability. No more guesswork. By cutting down on court interference and getting in line with global standards, investors can actually forecast their risks. They can trust the system. And that makes India an infinitely more reliable and attractive place to do business. So really the bottom line is right here. For global investors, this means increased confidence in doing business in India. It's not about tiny legal tweaks. It's about sending a loud, clear, powerful message that India is open for business and serious about playing by the rules. But the story doesn't actually stop there. This is bigger than just India. The sheer scale and success of these changes are creating ripples around the world. It's positioning India as more than just a place to invest, it's positioning them as a leader.
Think about it. Other emerging economies are watching this very, very closely. They're all competing for that same global investment, right? And what India has done is now being seen as the model, the benchmark. It's like a case study for how you build a modern, investor-friendly legal system from scratch.
Which leaves us with a really fascinating question to think about. In the process of making itself a top-tier place for global investment, has India accidentally created the new gold standard for every other emerging economy out there? I guess only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, the message they're sending to the rest of the world couldn't be clearer.